let me explain it this way. So glass is basically, see how you can see the eggs inside the frog? Basically, that's why it's called a glass tree frog. So glass is, okay, superheated sand, let me put it that way. And you can create glass, and what glass does is allow you, it has some translucency to it. So you have to understand transmission so you can make motors and have locomotion. But if you don't understand trans stuff, if you don't understand how you can mutate and how things are not immutable, they can be mutable is what I'm saying. You have to understand how you can change things over tachyon moment per tachyon moment. So basically transgenders and transsexuals, it's the same thing. You can change your gender. You can change your body. You can change all these things because they're not immutable. You can change elements. You can synthesize gold. You can synthesize all these things. You can synthesize diamonds. You can synthesize moon diamonds from helium-3, okay? So basically, all this to say is glass is the inverted process of hardlight or arclight. So it's the absence of things which allows you to see through it. It's the translucency. It's not the pearlescence. That's something different. It's not the metallicness. That's something different. It's okay. Now think if you were to basically deduce light, understand quantum luminosity using qubits, understand quantum chronodynamics, understand this higher dimension state of matter, past plasma. Now it's basically arclight. It's using Nikola Tesla's technologies. It's going past ultraviolet, okay? You go past ultraviolet, and basically you can have hard light by understanding how still lasers work. Because our sun, the solar system's home star, is a hot ball of plasma, which is basically the gas of, on the periodic. So technically it's a gas, but it exists in a plasma state. And now if you use the light, if you use the what is it, the coronal mass ejections, if you use the chronosphere or whatever they call it, the atmosphere of the sun, you can charge the particle. You can put big mirrors. Now look this up on Isaac A. Arthur's megastructures. Basically, megastructures deal with the macro universe. In microstructures, the nanometers deal with the micro universe, okay? That's microwaves and macro waves. But that's microwaves and macro waves in geometric reality, like physicality of the micro and the macro, okay? Or the mega, I guess you could say. So you could put two mirrors on opposite sides of each other in orbit around the sun and basically have the laser to have these, these pathways that you can manipulate with solar sails to boost yourself up to the speed of light. Anyways, if you can figure out how to manipulate this thermal quench of quantum chronodynamics, then you can essentially have light in a physical form. I call this an engram from the game Destiny. You could essentially encode something, and because everything's information, data, mass, energy, it's all the same. So you can basically encode something into this hard light. So now you have light that is physically touchable. It's the anti-version of glass. It's glass you can see through. You cannot see through this because it's hard light. It's light but physical. It's arc light. It's like so you could use it like in the game Halo 4. They have hard light, and they have it for ammunition for the Promethean weapons, the Forerunner weapons. Like the light rifle, the binary rifle. You start to see how it has names like binary, bits, ones and zeros. Anyways, and then it has the incineration cannon, which is the thermal side of it. And then they have because it's basically balls of plasma napalm type stuff, but with chronodynamics. And then they had the bolt shot, which superheats this up and basically one-shots people like at a further range than the UNSC shotgun even does, because those are projectiles versus okay, so think of projectiles, but now hard light. Okay, if you want your physicality, if lasers aren't good enough for you, then think of Euclidean geometry. Think of non-Euclidean geometry. Now think of like supra or super Euclidean geometry. Basically, you can use geometry and algebra and use physics to bridge the gap every single time. You can make any single state of matter you want into a touchable, tangible thing. That's why I said this is how you encode engrams. This is basically what destiny is. And so the U.S. is all about manifest destiny, right? So how about NASA, uses these sciences and uses these formulas or like consideration and calculations? That's why I said use classical computers to get to quantum computers, and from there you can get to like chrono computing, or like this quintessence. This, if you call a bit of information instead of electrons for classical computers and transistors and understanding of semiconductors and logic gates, then you essentially can reverse that and do the same thing, reverse engineer and do the same thing with qubits that can detect like all states of matter, right? So it can basically, everything's in a superposition for a qubit because of quantum fluctuations. Basically, it's fluctuating in and out of all these dimensions. That's what blur is, okay? And you deduce that blur, because I'm saying in lieu of being able to process higher FPS, you just added motion blur, right? So that's what you're doing anyways. This blur is the spectrum of light of what you can see. And I said, look in between that blur and categorize it. Say, okay, this is this color actually, and this is this color. I'm saying there's nothing saying that you needed to categorize it at all, but you did categorize the colors of the rainbow. That's just human nature, categorization. So I'm saying just do the same thing with qubits, and I'm saying it extends all the way to quantum luminosity. It's how photons enter the atmosphere and they bounce off every single molecule. And I'm saying if you can calculate the path of all photons until it reaches your eyeball, and keep in mind, we see things upside down as human beings. It's just basically the process, our brain flips the image around much like a telescope, or basically you have to flip the image around because humans see things upside down. It's just our brains flip it around, okay? So I'm saying that's how you get to hard light. That's how you get to arc light. That's how you get to all these things. Basically using Nikola Tesla's ozone ultraviolet technologies. Because I said, okay, my roommate, Logan, sat on top of an AC unit outside of an apartment. And those things can arc. Those things can use electricity and arc, and they can quote unquote kill people, right? So I'm saying if you understand how things arc, how things arch, maybe look at archery, okay? Maybe that'll help you. Maybe understanding how to arc your calculations, that's what orbital mechanics is. Maybe you need to look back at Newtonian physics, right? Maybe you need to understand how to use slingshot maneuvers to get around gravitational objects. Maybe you're still stuck back in that thinking. I'm like, if you are, think about it this way. You can slingshot around a black hole, and think about it this way. Because of Hawking radiation, even black holes evaporate. I'm saying if you were to fall in a black hole and turn around, you'd be able to see. I said you would be able to see the whole universe play out behind you really fast, which exposes that time was already all there already, right? I'm saying you only thought it passed linearly because you did not understand gravitational time dilation effects. I'm like, maybe you should go back and watch 2018 Interstellar, right? Because it shows Cooper go into the black hole. It basically shows that planet orbiting around the black hole, and how like in orbit, how on the planet barely any time passes, but in orbit so much time passes. I'm like, that's basically what time dilation is. You have to understand that. And I'm saying time hasn't really passed. It's just your perception of time has passed. I'm saying basically to be a quote unquote fifth dimensional being, you have to think in terms of time dilation. So you have to understand what the tachyon particle is. And I'm saying using quantum qubits, you can back calculate the information in data clumps using humidity and friction in the air, Nikola Tesla's technologies.